Oregon and Washington, members 17 and 18 of the Big Ten Conference. This has really been in the works for the better part of a year. Ever since USC and UCLA were officially admitted as members 15 and 16 of the Big Ten Conference, Oregon and Washington have been knocking at the Big Ten's door, and finally the Big Ten answered and say, hey, yeah, come on in. So I want to break down a couple of different points as it pertains to Oregon and Washington being the newest members of the Big Ten. First of all, this is our world. This is our reality as college football fans right now. Okay, whether you're a traditionalist, whether you're maybe in favor of the new age, the new wave of college football, no matter where you stand, this is the reality of the situation. Okay, the Big Ten now owns the four biggest brands on the West Coast. The two brands in LA, USC football, UCLA basketball. Yeah, that's pretty good. Then you go up to Oregon and, of course, Washington and Seattle, west of Texas, west of the beautiful Rocky Mountains where I was last week. West of that area, these are the four biggest brands in college football. Now, what does having those brands on the West Coast really mean? How big of a deal is it? I think we're going to find that out over time. Okay, I think having USC, I think having Oregon are really good ads. I think Washington brings, I want to see maybe more consistency out of Washington, right? You had some good years under Chris Peterson. We'll touch on that in just a minute. Kind of went down under Jimmy Lake. Kalen DeBoer looks like he has the Huskies kind of going in the right direction right now. Oregon and Washington. If you're a Purdue, if you're a Maryland, if you're kind of someone, you're not at the bottom of the barrel, but you're not at the top of tier 2, this is not the news you wanted to hear. Because the Big Ten, with these two ads of Oregon and Washington, is going to get a lot tougher, especially in that tier 2. We know tier 1 who that's going to be. Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, USC. Those are your big boys. Those are your elites. But then when you look at the Wisconsins, the Iowas lately, Minnesota has put together a couple of 9-win seasons. When you get into that tier, I'm going to list off some teams right now. Wisconsin, Iowa. I think you got to throw Oregon and Washington, what they've been able to do lately in the Pac-12. I think you got to throw them in there. Michigan State, they're up and down, but they could be in that area as well. Minnesota, Nebraska is hoping to get in there as well. Look, I didn't even mention Purdue, who just came off of a Big Ten West title. I didn't mention a Brett Bielema coached Illinois team who appears to maybe be on the precipice of another 8-win season. Like, there's a lot of solid teams in that group. That's what's going to be funnest to watch. Like right now, the Big Ten West is so fun to watch. You can talk about whether it's a good division or a bad division all you want. But the one thing you can't deny right now about the Big Ten West, it's fun to watch. That tier 2, those teams that I just mentioned, it's going to be fun to watch them go to work, definitely within that tier. There's a lot there. Who's going to stand out? I didn't mention UCLA also in that tier. And if Dante Moore turns out to who maybe we think he's going to be, they can be in that tier. Point I'm trying to make, Oregon and Washington add to the depth big time of the Big Ten Conference. Let's see how these two teams have done. Since 2016, Washington is 58-25, 4 10-win seasons. A majority, of course, coming under Chris Peterson. This last one, they won 11 games under Kalen DeBoer last season. They have a college football playoff appearance. How about the Oregon Ducks? Since 2018, 45-15, 4 10-win seasons, 2-2 in bowl games. Kind of like Washington with Chris Peterson. That was a lot of Mario Cristobal. Of course, Dan Lanning, great hire. Excited to see what Dan Lanning and Kayla DeBoer, how they can stack up in terms of Big Ten coaches. Very excited to see kind of what can happen. But the record shows that these are two solid additions. Will they compete with the Michigans, the Ohio States, the Penn States, the USCs in that tier number 1? I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe not right off the bat, but the depth of the conference is going to be so good, it's going to be so big. Why is that a big deal? The main move and why conference realignment is really happening in general, it's money and it's television. You know who likes this move the most? Fox, CBS, and NBC. Because there are some weeks, this week in the schedule, as much as it maybe pains me to admit that as a Big Ten guy, that maybe when Fox and CBS and NBC are drafting games, there might be some week where who's ever drafting third maybe doesn't exactly get the greatest games. Now you throw in Oregon, a brand, a team that a lot of people nationally recognize. You throw in a Washington, a team that looks like they're on the rise and looks pretty good. Now that bolsters the television product a little bit more. Now maybe instead of seeing Iowa against Indiana, now we see Iowa and Oregon. Ooh, your ears just perk up a little bit, right? Now I'm flipping through the channels. Now, baby, I want to watch that traditional Big Ten Iowa Hawkeyes, that great defense against an Oregon team that could have an explosive offense. I think it really helps it from a television perspective as well. There's more depth in terms of more big games. You've been hearing Colin Cowherd say it for months, maybe years. He says college football has a big game problem. If that is the case, the Big Ten is maybe coming in and adding a few more big games to their schedule. Look, you can talk about the value all you want. We talked about it a lot on this channel kind of throughout the previous months and when this was all rumored and possibly going on. But right now, on the football side of things, this is going to add a lot of depth to the conference. Personally, I'm excited. I would consider myself maybe more of a traditionalist in terms of the way I view college football. Do I wish the Big Ten was 10 teams? Yeah, probably. Do I wish the Pac-10 was still around? Yeah. But that's not the reality. That's what I started this off with. That's not the reality of where we live anymore. If we're going to blow things up big time, I would like to see the Big Ten own the West Coast. I would love to see the Big Ten go into the Southeast. One final thing I want to touch on right now here in this monologue. I did not think the Pac-12 would go down like this. I knew it could happen. I knew there was a possibility that this could happen. But for some reason, I don't know, my gut was telling me, yeah, maybe Georgie K is going to figure it out at the last minute. He's going to figure it out. Yeah, Colorado might leave. Maybe Arizona will leave. Things like that. But I just had this feeling that they'd figure it out because it is so hard to kill a conference. Even the Big East, when they were rated by the ACC, even the Big East was able to stick around as a non-football league. Right, when you talk about college basketball, the Big East is a highly respected conference. Right now, you look all across this country over the past 20, 30, however many years you want to go back, it's a Southwest Conference. The Southwest Conference side, and they really had their own problems. I thought the Pac-12 was going to figure it out. They didn't. And I hope we really celebrate Pac-12 football in this final year because the Big Ten and the Pac-10/12 had a great relationship. That great Rose Bowl relationship for so many years, so many great non-conference matchups. I really hope we celebrate the best of Pac-12 football. What they have on the West Coast this season, they've got some good quarterbacks. It's going to be a fun league, definitely, in 2023.